Hello, grade 2. Here we are in values class. So good to be with you. All right, my friends, we're going to start with our moment of mindfulness. All right, and again, going to ring our chime, being able to help our ears reset and our brain begin to reset. Let's go ahead and do our 5 breaths. Breathing in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, and let it go. All right, very good. And let's do that again. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, and let it all go. All right, one more time. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5, and let it all go. Oh, very good. Now we're ready to be able to be together and in this moment now. All right. Today I wanted to be able to finish by talking about random acts of kindness. We've talked so much about that this year. I wanted to be able to start by reading a book about a woman named Elizabeth Fry. She was a real person, and she made some remarkable things to the society that she lived in. She lived in England, actually. Anyway, Elizabeth Fry did a lot about kindness. So I wanted to be able to start off with that. It's entitled The Value of Kindness, the story of Elizabeth Fry. So once upon a time, there was a girl named Elizabeth. She lived in a great house in England. She slept in a soft bed, and she wore pretty clothes, and she ate fine food. And on sunny days, she played in the garden with her brothers and sisters. Would you like to be in England and be able to live like that? She should have been very happy, but she wasn't. I like being kind to people, she said, because it makes people happy. But I wish I could go out and be kind to those people who no one else thinks about. Well, there were days when Elizabeth was sad. And it was on one of these days that a butterfly came flitting into her garden. Oh, she pretended that the butterfly was talking to her. "Don't be sad, pretty lady," the butterfly said. "I will help you. I'll be your best friend." Well, now, although Elizabeth knew that she had to make up talking to a butterfly, it was fun to think of having a butterfly as her friend. "Why are you sad, Elizabeth?" the butterfly asked. "I'm sad because I'm not being kind enough to people. I live in a great house, and I sleep in a soft bed, and I wear pretty clothes, and everyone is good to me. But I know that many people have no one to care for them or to be kind to them, and that makes me unhappy." "Oh, I can see how that might trouble you. I just flew over a prison, and it troubled me to see the way some of the women there have to live." "Oh dear," said Elizabeth. So Elizabeth told her father about this. And she said, "I'd like to be able to go visit those women in the prison." Oh, and her father said, "Oh no, Elizabeth, you're too young. You might not be able to do that right now. But instead, why don't you go and cheer up people in the hospital? And later, when you're older, you can go visit the women in the prison." So off she went to the hospital. She had a smile and a kind word to everyone. And the sick people were very happy to see Elizabeth. And they were glad that she cared enough to come and visit them. Well, Elizabeth was busy and happy, and she did get older, and she got married, and she had a new name. Her name now was Fry. So one day, Elizabeth Fry decided that she was ready to visit the women at the prison. Oh, the butterfly said, "Be careful. It's very dangerous there. The women might be unkind to you." Well, Elizabeth Fry wasn't afraid, but when she got inside the prison, she was very upset. "It's frightful," she said. "It's so dirty, and the air's so bad I can hardly breathe. What a terrible way for anyone to live." Oh, it was indeed awful. And the women inside the prison, they'd become lazy and dirty. Oh, they shouted and they quarreled with one another. because they had nothing better to do. No one cared what they did. No one had ever taught them to be kind to one another. Oh dear, the prisoners are getting close in on Elizabeth Fry, one of the guards said. I'm afraid they're going to hurt her. Oh, but now Elizabeth wasn't afraid. She said, you know what? I'm going to just stand still. If only I could make them believe that I'm here to be kind to them. Perhaps you can, whispered the butterfly. Look over there at that poor sick child. And Elizabeth looked. And then she did something. She moved away from the other women and she hurried to the little child who was lying on the cold floor, and she picked the child up in her arms. She said to the women, my friends, many of you are mothers. Well, I'm a mother too. And you need to be able to look after your children. But the women were just so surprised they began to cry. They said, she is kind to us. She's come to help us. No one outside the prison has ever worried about our children or about us before. And she brought a child for Elizabeth Fry to sit on. And then all of the women who had children brought them to Elizabeth Fry. We must do something about our children, the women said. Well, perhaps it would help to start a school for the children. Well, the children had never met a grown-up who came and paid attention to them. They weren't used to it. They smiled and they looked happy. They absolutely were happy that Elizabeth Fry was taking care of them. And Elizabeth Fry did start a school in the prison for the children. She taught them reading and spelling and sewing. And most of the mothers couldn't spell or read. They'd peek through the door and they'd say, we wish we could go to school too. And at last some of the women went to Elizabeth Fry. Can we have a school too? Well, I'm not sure, Elizabeth Fry said. The officials who run the prison might not like it, but I will go ask them. So Elizabeth Fry asked all the officials to her home. She said, if we could make the prison a nicer place, if we could teach the women something useful, they might live better lives once they were out of prison. Oh, the official said, we'll let you try just to show that you're wrong to be kind to anyone. So, Elizabeth Fry started a school for the women. And when you can read and write, she told them, you'll be more likely to succeed. I wish I could read and write, thought the butterfly, but butterflies simply do not read or write. She said, when you learn to make things, you can support yourselves from your own work. Oh, the women were so happy. They were so happy to be making colorful quilts. I'll take your quilts and I'll sell them for you. And then I'll give you the money and you can buy some things for yourselves. You're very kind, said the women. Well, there was a meeting later that day. And somebody said, you know, we have men prisoners too. Perhaps we can help them the way you've helped the women. Well, Elizabeth Fry said, you can help them by being kinder to them. When you're kind to someone, that person is more apt to be kind to you. Wouldn't it be wonderful? We could teach all the people to be better, kinder people. And that's what they did. They opened schools for the men and the women and the children. And it worked. And when the prisoners knew that someone cared about them, and when they learned to do something useful, they weren't nearly so likely to get into trouble. Soon Elizabeth Fry was getting letters from all over England. She got so many letters that her daughters had to help her with the mail. Well, one day, one of her daughters said, here's a special one, Mother. It has a red seal on it. Who do you think it could be from? Elizabeth Fry was very happy when she opened it. It was an invitation from the House of Commons, the government. And the government was asking her to be able to come and talk to them about being kind to people. Oh my goodness, Elizabeth Fry was so happy. She went to the House of Commons and she said, the answer is very simple, my friends. People should be able to have schools, places where people who've been in prison could learn to be good. You'll never teach people to be good by being unkind to them, but by being kind. The answer is to be kind, to help people, to care about making them happier. When people are happy, they will be good. I'm so proud of you, Elizabeth. After that, Elizabeth Fry was invited to go to all over Europe to talk with kings and queens and heads of state. They all wanted to know how to be able to make their prisons better. She rode in a carriage to see them. And Elizabeth Fry told the kings and the queens of Europe that people, even prisoners, are more likely to be good if you are kind to them. As Elizabeth spoke, she felt very happy. She knew how good it feels when you show kindness towards someone. Perhaps like Elizabeth Fry, you might think about how good you feel when you are kind. Of course, you may decide to bring kindness into your own life in a very different way. But whatever you decide to do, let's hope it is something that will make you a happier person. Just like our friend, Elizabeth Fry. The value of kindness, my friends. That's what we've been talking about all year. We are a community of kindness at St. Patrick's. And today, what we're going to look at is that what we're going to do is we're going to represent our kindness by a kindness quilt. I just happen to have made one up here. I'm going to encourage you to go ahead and get some construction paper and a pen or markers and being able to do that. And I want you to put together your own kindness quilt, because I want you to think of all the different kinds of things that you can do to share kindness. Let's look at our kindness quilt here. You could be able to do an errand for your mom or your dad. Hey, you could rake your neighbor's yard. You could sweep the floor. You could hug your parents for no reason. You could carry a package. Maybe you and your parents could plant a tree together. You could read a book aloud to your brother or your sister. We always remember our manners. You can use please, thank you, and excuse me. You can tell your brother or sister that you love them. You could write a thank you card to someone. You could be able to take out your recycling. You could write a note of thanks to the mail person. Be able to put it in the mail slot there for him or her. You could let someone get ahead of you in line. You know, that's a very lovely gesture indeed. You could prepare a meal. I understand some of you might have made something for Mother's Day. You could be able to prepare a little meal for your family. Open the door. Smile at someone. Hey, make cookies for your neighbor. Take out the garbage. Tell someone you appreciate them. Take out your neighbor's trash can. Tell your parents that you love them. Share a game. Make a free lemonade stand for the neighborhood. Those are some things that I thought of a kindness quilt. What do you think of? You know, when we do something like this, my friends, it means that we take the kindness out into the world. And that's what we've been talking about all year. So I hope for you very much that you take your kindness out into the world and share it with everybody. Thanks for being with me. Have a good day.